Welcome! Today we're going to be looking at mods, and specifically gun mods, and there's a number of them. So a few things to keep in mind as you look into modding your weapons. The first thing is that you need to unlock the correct skills, and this is under intellect, obviously, like most crafting things are, and it's under the science. So on the level 1, you can use tier 1 schematics, then down to 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now the levels are intellect level 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it is pretty high. I've only been able to really see most of the mods right now are tier 1, 2, 3. So there will probably be 4 and 5, maybe higher level items. And of course that means that you need to go at least level 40. Probably level 50 or in some cases level 60 before you can really make use of the schematics. So that's the first thing. You need to be a pretty high level and unlock everything. Secondly, you need to find the schematics. Now you can't actually seem to buy the schematics in the trader. It seems to be restricted to loot. Now they do show up in a number of places. You can see them in the different book containers. You have the common books or the rare books, so you would expect that. You can also see them in quest loot. So that seems to be a big way of getting these schematics, of completing quests and receiving the schematics. In addition, you can also find them, of course, in other places where you might expect it, such as in gun safes, in the shotgun messiah containers, etc. So looting seems to be the way to get these schematics. So let's look at some of them. Now, each of them, like I said, has a tier level of 1 to 5. But as you see, here's 1, here's number 1, here's 1, here's 2, 3, and most of them really are 1 to 3. So that's the important bit. Now keep in mind a lot of things are still under flux, but the way it works is that obviously you craft these ones, so you find them, the actual mod, and then you put them into your gun, and it will increase the statistics, plus they will have some extra functionality such as sights. Obviously it means that you get a sight, a weapon sight. Now let's look at the barrel one. So you have the barrel one, which is muscle brake, which is a low level, and to check the actual parts you need to craft it is that you select it and you hit recipes. And then you can see it here, and you'll see what you actually need. And it's reasonable as far as the items, because by that level you probably can get this pretty easily. Keep in mind that the schematic will be used up as you craft. So you can't just find one muscle brake schematic and pump out 10 muscle brakes. You have to find a lot of extra of the schematic. So that's going to be a bit of a limiting factor, but it means you're going to have to loot. Now, so you have these ones, for which is the barrel. You have the foregrip. You have the bipod, which I don't really know specifically what it does because you can't lay it down. You have a magazine extender, which seems to be really useful. You have the weapon flashlight, which might be useful if you can find a mining helmet or actually attach a lamp to your helmet. You have the laser sight, which looks really peculiar, and I'll go into that further, but it's sort of offset. You have the retracting stock. You have the rod and spring replacement. Again, this is tier 2. It's tier 3 rather. Then you have the scopes. Now the scopes are interesting. You have a 2x scope, you have a 4x scope, and you have an 8x scope, and you have the reflex sight. Now all of the scopes can't be attached to all weapons. That goes for all the mods. Some of the mods can go on some weapons, and other mods can go on other weapons. For instance, shotgun mods can only go on shotguns. And you have the choke, you have the duckbill, and you have the sawed off. So you don't have any normal regular shotgun and a sawed off shotgun. It's basically a mod to turn it into a sawed off shotgun. Of course, it's a little bit funny that you can saw it off and then you can take off the mod and you'll be good. Further, you also have trigger groups. And you can see here you have the semi-automatic, you have the burst, and you have the full auto. Now, the way this seems to work is that it turns the gun into only along this fire mode. So if you put on the semi-automatic, that's what it's going to be. If you turn on the burst, it's going to be a burst. You don't get the full auto, for instance. If you turn on the full auto, well, of course, you get the full auto. But I'm not really sure whether these are fully fleshed out yet, because if you pull on the full auto mod on, let's see, an SMG, you can still tap fire and get semi-automatic that way. And you can hold the button even without the mod and get full automatic. It doesn't seem to really shoot faster, so I'm not really sure whether that makes a huge difference, but maybe that's something we're going to figure out. In addition, you have two more mod types. You have this one, the cripple schematic, which presumably will cripple them. And you have the heat schematic. Maybe it sets them on fire. So I think that gives a lot of extra things that potentially can be done. You could imagine, maybe not necessarily freezing them, but maybe make them bleed more, maybe removing their radiation or other things that affect the zombies. All right, so I'm going to just craft this muscle break, for instance. I go to the recipe, muscle break, and I can't craft it. So what's going on? Well, good question. It looks like you can't actually craft them yet. What a letdown. So I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's because they haven't quite finished up how all this is going to work. But it looks like, as you see, I have unlocked level 9 here. And if you look at the yes science, I've done that up to level 4. So I should be able to craft this one, right? But no, it doesn't look like you can. So what I suspect is that they still have to hook up having a schematic and the skills and crafting. Because as you know, for most of the other crafting, let's take a shotgun. Shotgun is probably a bad one because that one is bugged out. Let me do the marksman rifle. Now this one is a straight unlock. It's a skill. It's not a schematic. So if you have the skill, this one will unlock and you can craft it. Now for these ones, you don't actually have a skill for it. You have this as a component of crafting it, but there's no skill involved other than the science, which is more of a tier 1 and not specifically to this item. So maybe that is causing them a little bit of problems. But as it looks like here, you can't actually craft it because you don't know the required recipe. But if you look at it, well, you can't read it. There's no way to read it. So that's going to be interesting to see how they actually fix that. Maybe it's a small quick fix that's going to go in one of the experimental builds, but otherwise we might have to wait until the stable release to see how all the crafting turns out. But this is what it looks to be so far. Now, after some more investigation, I realized that you can actually make them craftable. You see here, I have the reflex sight and it is craftable. If I hit the recipe, I can do this one and I can craft it. Now, in order to accomplish this one, I went into the recipe.xml file. And as you can see, I removed the learnable tags under the scope. Now, whether that makes anything work not the way intended, I don't know, but at least that seems to be one way to craft them. So it could be that they were omitted on purpose, it could be that it was an accident, or it could be that they're still trying to make sure it works the correct way. But at least this seems to be a way to craft them right now, is that you simply remove the learnable tags. Now, and I think that's got to do with the fact that if you look at the schematic, it's like a book, right? But you can't read it. You can't learn it. It's just something that gets used as a component. And I think that's where it went wrong. So that's one way to craft it. And we'll see if that's the way they're going to be solving it for the next versions. But anyway, as a band-aid right now, you could do that yourself. If you find a mod and you want to craft it, just go in and remove the learnable and you should be able to craft it and move on. I will be making another video of the gun mods and how they look and act on the guns as you modify and attach them and how they affect your gameplay. So stay tuned for that one. But for now, I'm out. I'll see you next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.